the water is going under this bedrock just right into that cave. There's a cave right there. Uh-oh, that's no rock bass. It's a bass. It's a big bass. And a lot of people would probably call this a meanmouth, but of course there's no such thing as a meanmouth. That's just a nickname. See you, buddy. Hello there, and welcome to the channel, everyone. Today we're looking for native smallmouth bass in the Tennessee River drainage. The Tennessee River drainage is part of the Mississippi River Basin, which is the world's fourth largest drainage basin by area. And you only have 3 native species of black bass in the Mississippi River Basin: the smallmouth bass, the spotted bass, and the largemouth bass. You also have 2 non-native species of black bass in the Tennessee River drainage: the Redeye Bass, which is only native to the COOSA River drainage in the Mobile Basin, and the Alabama Bass, which is also native to the Mobile River Basin. In most areas where you find these non-native species, you no longer have catchable populations of native smallmouth bass and spotted bass. And that's because native species of black bass develop different life histories, traits, and behaviors over long periods of time as they adapt to conditions unique to the environment where they live. This process promotes reproductive isolation among native species of black bass, but when humans start moving fish around, these natural barriers to reproduction no longer exist, resulting in widespread hybridization between species. Native smallmouth bass are extremely rare in Georgia now due to the illegal introduction and spread of non-native Alabama bass. I did a video last August and talked about this in some detail, so if you'd like to see that video, I'll put a link in the description below. Oh yeah. Uh-oh. This is not good, folks. This is appears to be a true redeye bass. And we are in the Tennessee River drainage, and redeye bass are not native to the Tennessee River drainage, obviously. If you look right here, you can see that silver white crescent on the back of the eye. He's also got white fin margins here on the leading edge of the anal fin there, and you've also got some white up here on the leading edge of the soft dorsal. I'm kind of in the shade here, so you probably can't see that. And redeye bass also have these white caudal fin margins here. There on the upper fin margin, you can see the white, and here again on the lower margin of the caudal fin. And the soft dorsal, the anal, and the caudal fins typically have some reddish pigment or coloration, but early in the year like this, when the water's still cool, you won't always see that. They might be kind of tea colored, but this one, the colors are just washed out because the water's still on the cool side, even though it's April. And redeye bass are not native to the Tennessee River drainage, so I'm not going to release this fish. Their introduction has actually hurt the smallmouth population in several streams, and this is one of them. So that's why I'm not going to release this fish. If we were in the COOSA River drainage, I would release this redeye bass, but we are not, so I'm not going to release this fish. Now see, this is the problem with putting redeye bass in the Tennessee River drainage. This fish, I'm not really sure what this is. It's got a tooth patch on the tongue. Most anglers would probably call this a smallmouth bass. It does have some coloration in the pelvic fins, but not a lot. That could be a smallmouth. I just don't know. Okay, that appears to be a spotted bass. And they are native to the Tennessee drainage. You can kind of see here, even though this is a small one, and it's much more difficult to tell on the smaller ones, but you can see the tail here. The blotches near the tail will coalesce into a solid stripe, and that's what we have here. And that's a native spotted bass, whereas the Alabama bass, those blotches are typically broken all the way to the caudal fin. Man, do y'all hear that? I heard that sound from the other side of the river. The water is going under this bedrock, just right into that cave. There's a cave right there, and I just hear like a waterfall back in there. And you can see how fast the current's moving into this hole. Man, you would not want to get sucked in there. I don't know if y'all can hear that. You can just hear like a waterfall, like there's a big drop in there. It's pretty amazing. I would walk up a little closer, but I have no way to secure my kayak right here. Anyway, that's pretty cool. That right there is a redeye bass. Little redeye bass. Some anglers call these a COOSA bass. That is one nickname they have because they are native to the COOSA river drainage. That's how they got that nickname. But that's a redeye bass, and they are not native to the Tennessee River system. Uh-oh, that's no rock bass. That fish is heading towards deep water. What is that? Is that a drum or a catfish? Oh no, it's a bass. It's a big bass. Why hasn't it jumped? Looks like some kind of hybrid. It's not a smallmouth, it's some kind of freaking hybrid. Ah, you're kidding me. Come here. Well, it's part smallmouth, but it's mostly something else. Well, here it is, folks. I know a lot of anglers would call that a smallmouth, but I don't think that's a smallmouth. Maybe some of the biologists will chime in. He has some coloration on the pelvic fins, but not a lot. You can see there's a faint lateral stripe, which smallmouth do not have. Smallmouth have vertically elongated blotches or bars, and this fish has, I can see a stripe, a faint stripe. It's definitely not a smallmouth. I think a smallmouth this size would also have jumped. We'll put it on the measuring board just to see what it is. Okay, it's 19 inches with the mouth closed. Trying to get where my shadow's not on there. But I know a lot of bass fishermen would call that a smallmouth, but it's not a smallmouth. It's got blotches. Smallmouth don't have blotches. This is some kind of hybrid. With the redeye bass in here, there's, you know, it could be a smallmouth redeye spot. There shouldn't be any Alabama bass in this section. Otherwise, I'd say it's a smallmouth Alabama hybrid. And a lot of people would probably call this a meanmouth, but of course there's no such thing as a meanmouth. That's just a nickname for, well, anglers apply the nickname meanmouth to pretty much any fish that's a smallmouth hybrid. Right there, you can see the blotches. I'm sure some people will try to tell me that's a shoal bass, but it's not. It's not a shoal bass. If I had to guess, and of course, I'm going to say it's a smallmouth redeye spot. You would have, and that's again why you never want to move fish around people. By the way, I caught that last fish on a 5-inch Yamamoto Cinco green pumpkin with black flake, and that's a 2/0 owner wacky hook right there. And I'm fishing that on a 8-pound fluorocarbon. Just to let everyone know, when you have a shoal like this that spans the entire stream channel, you know, it goes from one bank to the other bank. So immediately downstream from these shoals, you often have a lot of coarse substrate, a lot of gravel, a lot of coarse sand, and a lot of, you know, clean bedrock. And during a high water period, the current coming off of that rock shoal scours out the area immediately downstream so that it stays fairly clean, and you don't have a lot of silt, a lot of sediment. You know, you got a lot of clean bottom. And so when the water's down and stable like this, stream bass in a stream will spawn in these areas. And even when they're not spawning, they'll stage just below the shoal, just this side of it in the deeper water here, like that last fish I just caught. And you know, all kinds of stream specialists do this. It's not just smallmouth, it's shoal bass, redeye bass, Bartram's bass. You know, the rock, you know, you may be in a different drainage, and so you're talking about different species, you may be talking about different geology, different rock types, but the fish pretty much do the same thing in the spring, and they spawn in the same, you know, the same areas. Uh-oh, what do we got? Oh, I know what that is. Boy, look at that shiner he just spit up, y'all. I'd grab it, but it just sunk. Well, that fish wasn't coming off. fish. Okay. The old smallmouth bass. You can see the pelvic fins right there have a lot of pigment. Much more than the shoal bass. The shoal bass, they're typically white translucent. The pelvic fins have a white translucent color on the shoal bass, whereas the smallmouth, they've got a lot more pigment in the pelvic fin, as you can see. Get this fish back in the water. See you, buddy.